It's all about the U. That's right, everybody. Today I'm going to be breaking down the Miami Hurricanes 2020 football schedule. I'm very excited to do this one. Miami is one of the most storied historical programs in all of college football, in my opinion. They've won national championships before. They've produced great NFL talent. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis. I can keep going on and on. They know how to produce great talent. They've had great football teams before. The 2001 Miami Hurricanes were one of the best football teams in college football history. Just overall, whether they're 3-9, 9-3, or undefeated, there's always some talk about the Miami Hurricanes, no matter how they're doing, just because their name is the Miami Hurricanes. So I'm excited to do this schedule prediction. I think it should be an interesting schedule overall. First off, I have to address last year and then talk about the talent that's coming in before I get to this schedule. Just because we have to kind of know what the team is like. Obviously, last year the schedule wasn't, or the overall year wasn't very great. It was Manny Dias' first year as head coach, and it didn't go so well for him. They went 6-7 overall, 6-7, and the really disappointing thing was they were losing a lot of cupcake games, most notably FIU and Louisiana Tech. Those are not games you want to lose. Not to mention they got shut out by Louisiana Tech 14-0. I think they might have lost to Georgia Tech as well. They lost a lot of cupcake games in there, and that was not great. They had some decent wins. I think they beat a couple decent teams. But they played terrible in a lot of cupcake games. That was something that's something that they're gonna need to fix. I think their defense overall was fine. The turnover chain was brought out a lot. But the offense wasn't good. The offense was absolutely terrible in my opinion. I think it was pretty inexperienced, especially the offensive line. I think that hurt them. From what I know, I didn't watch every Miami game, obviously. I remember the games I did watch, it seemed like ball security was a big issue with the Hurricanes. I remember especially in that Florida game, the first game of the season, that was probably, I mean, they put on a great performance. I will say, at least their defense, because they made it close. They only lost by like a few points, and Florida ended up being a top 10 team. So I guess they played decent in that game, but I remember watching their offense, and they were fumbling left and right. It was atrocious. They had a chance to win the game at the end. They couldn't do it. So I think that game kind of summed up their season. Their defense was pretty good. Their offense was atrocious, and they just could not get it done when it counted. But without further ado, let's get into the schedule. Oh, and also, De'Ara King is coming in for the offense. It's going to help a ton. He's going from the transfer portal from Houston to Miami. Going to help quite a lot, and I mean a lot. They need a good quarterback, and I think he will be it. I think he can run the football pretty well and pass the football pretty well, and they need that considering their offensive line probably still isn't going to be great. But without further ado, like I said, let's get into the schedule. Number one, Temple. Temple shouldn't be too hard of a game. I mean, Temple's a pretty average American athletic team, in my opinion. I think the U overall is much more talented, especially on the defense, but also on the offense. It should be an easy game for the U. Again, like I said, FIU and LA Tech don't take anything for granted here, but it should be an easy game. Wagner, I hope I don't have to break down this game. If Miami struggles in this game, they have problems. This should be an easy game for them. UAB, UAB is a pretty average Conference USA team. I don't expect a ton from them this upcoming season. I think, my guess would be that Miami wins this game with ease. But we could see UAB make it a little bit of a contested game. 4 at Michigan State. This is a tough one. So I actually have this as the game day site for Week 4. I think it would be an interesting site. Both programs right now are struggling. Both programs went 6-6 during the regular season last year. Took a step back, but still, they've got pretty good history behind them, especially Miami. Michigan State under Mark D'Antonio had a few great years, so I think it's an interesting bowl match or an interesting matchup in my opinion. At Michigan State, it's a tough place to play in East Lansing. That's not going to be easy for them. I honestly think it could be a pretty good game, but I would go with Michigan State here. I understand they're losing Mark D'Antonio, and he's probably a Hall of Fame head coach, I understand Mel Tucker's being put into a tough situation, but I feel like Michigan State's still a little bit more talented. So I would guess Michigan State wins this one, but I definitely think it could be close. Pitt, I don't expect much from the Panthers this year. Miami should be able to get this one done. At Wake Forest, obviously Wake Forest just lost quarterback Jamie Newman. That might hurt a little bit. They were decent last year, had a great start, had a tough ending. I think this one's pretty close. Another game that could go either way, in my opinion. I would give the advantage to the U, especially because they have a great defense, but definitely Wake Forest could put up a great fight. Bye week, great time to have your bye week, right before 3 or 4 tough games, really, actually. North Carolina. So I have North Carolina actually winning the Coastal Division next year. I have them only losing 2 to 3 games, North Carolina, and I actually think this is one of them. I really do. I think North Carolina, you look at them, they're great on offense. Their defense it's meh. It's meh. And I feel like on the road, coming off a couple of tough games, I think at this point, North Carolina will be coming off a tough stretch. I believe only a couple weeks earlier, they're playing Virginia, so they might be a little bit worn out by this point. I think it's a game where they might not be expecting to have a loss. I think the U's going to hand them a loss here. I think it's going to be close. North Carolina should put up a great fight, but I think the U's going to surprise North Carolina and win this game. At Virginia, it's an away game. I think Virginia's still a decent team. Not incredibly good. I think they're going to take a step back, but still pretty good. I would give the advantage to Virginia here. Florida State, this is, in my opinion, another tough game because Norvell's coming in for Florida State, and he did great coaching Memphis last year. So I think Florida State's going to be a pretty talented football team for this upcoming season. I think being at home definitely helps Miami. It's a big rivalry game. I think it should be a good one. But my guess would be Florida State. I think Florida State's going to be a pretty talented team. They're in the ESPN top 25 in the FBI. So they're supposed to be a pretty talented team. You know, Florida State might not look great record-wise coming into this game because I have looked at their schedule. It's actually pretty tough. It is pretty tough. So record-wise, coming into this game, Florida State might not look like a great team, but talent-wise and coaching-wise, I think they're pretty good. So I'm gonna give the advantage to Florida State here, but Miami can definitely put up a fight. At Virginia Tech, tough one, very tough place to play late in the season. That doesn't help. Virginia Tech at this point, I think, is still going to be in contention to possibly win the ACC Coastal. I think they're still going to be fighting for it. I have North Carolina winning the division, but I think Virginia Tech's still going to be fighting for a chance to make it to the ACC championship game. So it's a very big game, in my opinion, for Virginia Tech. Very tough place to play late in the season. I think Virginia Tech is pretty talented. I think they're going to be a top 25 team. I'm going to take the Hokies here. Georgia Tech, listen, like I said, I believe Georgia Tech beat Miami. I might be wrong. I believe they beat them last year, though. Listen, this should be an easy one. It really should be for Miami. I see no reason why this isn't an easy one. It should be a very easy game for Miami. I'm going to take the U. They're just overall more talented, in my opinion. They should win this game easily, but, you never know. Duke, they should win this one. Again, another game where they should win. Not a guarantee, but it's a game where they're just a lot more talented of a football team. They're more probably going to be interested in winning games at this point. Duke is obviously not a football school. They should win this football game. So overall, I have the U coming in at 8-4. I think that's pretty good. It's a 2-game improvement. I think you lose to Virginia Tech, maybe Florida State. I think you lose to Virginia, maybe North Carolina, and you probably split the Michigan State and Wake Forest game. So overall, I'm averaging that all out. I'll throw you a bone on some of them. I won't on others. I have you at 8-4. I think the biggest chance of a loss is Virginia Tech. I don't think any game really Miami has a terrible shot winning. I think they have a pretty good shot to win every game. But with that being said, I don't think they're going to win every game, of course. So I have them overall going 8-4. I think that's pretty good overall. I really do. Their defense is good. De'Ara King coming in for the offense definitely going to help. I think they're going to be a pretty talented football team overall. But Manny Diaz, he's still relatively new to the program, and the offensive line I still don't think is great. Ed Reed coming in, I believe he's going to be the chief of staff. I think that's what he is. That's definitely going to help. He's probably going to have a good influence around the players, so that will help. But overall, 8-4. I think that you can be a pretty good football team in a few years, better than they than they are right now. But right now, I feel like 8-4 is where they're at. Their schedule really they should be fine with. It shouldn't be a big problem for them. They should be able to get 8 wins at least out of the schedule. But just because I feel like Manny Diaz still early on in his tenure might have some problems. So 8-4 right now, definitely could be 9-3, maybe 10-2. 10-2 is a reach, but that's the high. The low, probably like 7-5. But anyway, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for joining in, and please make sure to like and subscribe, and check out all my other videos.